I had an acquaintance many years ago who had a scary hiking story. He was hiking in the desert in Utah. He parked a long way down a dirt road and hiked toward a 1,500-foot elevation gain trail in an extremely remote area with his 3- and 5-year-old kids. Eventually, they decided it was too steep and turned around. Heading back down the trail, he could now see his truck far off in the distance and noticed a figure near it. As he got closer, he could make out that the person was messing with his truck, looking in the windows, laying down and looking at the undercarriage, and then climbing into the bed of the truck and laying in it, and not reappearing. This acquaintance was frightened and assumed the person was attempting an ambush. So as he got to about 1.5 miles of his truck, he shouted, "Get away from my truck! Get out of here!" The guy peeked out of the bed and stayed put. So he pulled out his gun and fired a warning shot, and the guy hopped out of the bed and made a sweeping motion with his arms towards each of the tires and began walking away from the vehicle. It was a bit of a game to travel in a way that the guy couldn't catch them, but they eventually reached the truck and found all 4 tires slashed and the fuel tank in the bed stabbed open, leaking everywhere. They were in the middle of nowhere with no way out and could still see creepy tire slashing guy walking off in the distance when he turned around and started coming back towards them. So my friend pulled out his cell phone and found he had service and called 911. Before the guy could walk all the way back to them, around 10 police arrived. The man saw this and began running, and the police gave chase on foot. Then they called in a plane to assist with the search. The man escaped completely into the remote book cliffs of Utah. My acquaintance was very scared that he'd run into the man again, or someone else would be victimized. And for about 2 years, he went without any information about who it was. Eventually, the unknown tire slasher was arrested and connected to this event because he was committing similar crimes. It turned out he was a transient living in a nearby ghost town called Woodside, Utah. His name was Jason Pogue, and if you search his name in crime, Utah, you can see he is still having run-ins with the law to this day. It started on a regular Friday night. I had just finished a long week at work and decided to unwind by watching some YouTube videos. My webcam was sitting there, staring at me like it always does when I'm on the computer. But I never really thought about it. I wasn't doing anything special, just scrolling aimlessly through videos, trying to relax. That's when I heard a ping from my laptop. I opened the message, expecting some spam email or a notification from a social media app. But this was different. The message was from an unknown contact and the subject line read, "I see you." Curiosity crept in, but I was too tired to be bothered. I clicked it open, not knowing what I was about to step into. The first image that popped up was, well, disturbing. It was a picture of me, taken from my webcam. But I didn't remember taking it. I was sitting in my chair, but my face was flushed red and my eyes were wide, like I had been caught in the middle of some embarrassing moment. The shot was so clear and so intimate. I immediately closed the laptop, my heart pounding. What the hell? I quickly opened my webcam settings to make sure everything was off, but it was too late. The damage was done. The next message arrived seconds later. "I'm watching you, and I have more." This time, a series of photos flooded the screen. There was one of me, well, let's just say it wasn't something anyone should ever see, let alone have documented. My hands began to shake as I stared at the screen. How? How could this person have gotten these images? These were things I did in my privacy of my own home, things I never wanted anyone to know about, let alone see. And then came the worst part. The hacker sent a video, a grainy clip showing me in a vulnerable state. A moment of weakness caught on camera. My breath hitched in my throat. This wasn't a sick joke. This was real. The hacker wasn't playing around. The next message sent chills through my bones. "I can't wait to share your secret with your family, your friends, and the world. But I'm feeling generous. Pay me $10,000 in Bitcoin, or your darkest moments will be seen by everyone." I stared at the screen, a wave of panic crashing over me. How was I supposed to get that kind of money? And even if I did, what if I paid and they still released everything? I wasn't safe either way. I tried to disconnect from the internet, to shut off my computer, but the screen flickered and changed. The hacker was still watching me. The webcam light was on again, staring at me like a predator eye. I could feel my pulse hammering in my chest as the seconds ticked by. It was like I had no control over anything anymore. They were always watching. They knew everything. I was no longer in charge of my own privacy. Another message popped up. I'm watching you right now. Look closely. I'm sure you'll see me. I closed my eyes, my mind racing for a solution, but nothing made sense. The hacker was everywhere. I was powerless. Another photo. A message. Tick-tock. I didn't have a choice. The ransom seemed like my only option, but I couldn't shake the feeling that if I paid, it would find another way to torment me. It's what predators do. They feed off your fear and make you think you can't control the situation by giving in. But they always want more. The webcam light blinked off for a split second and then came back on. I couldn't escape. I didn't know if the hacker was real or if I was just losing my mind, but one thing was clear. There was no running from this. A few weeks ago, I decided to go garage sales shopping. It's something I do every once in a while driving around, seeing if I can find anything weird or vintage. Lately, I've been obsessed with finding old glass clown figurines. I know they're creepy to most people, but there's something about the craftsmanship that draws me in. They're hard to find and usually not cheap, but I was hoping I'd get lucky. I was driving through a decent neighborhood, not too run down and not too flashy. It was the kind of place where people mow their lawns and wave to neighbors. I saw a sign that said, "Garage Sale, Antiques and Collectibles," and followed it to a quiet cul-de-sac. There were tables set up with the usual stuff, kitchenware, board games, some tools, but nothing really caught my eye. That's when the homeowner came up to me. He was a heavyset guy in his 50s, bald on top and a pair of thick glasses. He introduced himself as Ted. Friendly enough on the surface, I asked him kind of offhand if he happened to have any glass clowns. His eyes lit up.
"Oh yeah,"
he said.
"I got a few inside actually. Didn't want them getting knocked over out here. If you give me a sec, I'll go grab them."
I nodded and waited. Ted disappeared into the house and I stood there in the driveway checking out some old records on a table nearby. That's when things took a hard turn. Ted came back out of the house, but not with any glass clowns. He came out holding a gun. He pointed it straight at me, his voice suddenly cold and sharp.
"Give me your wallet and phone. Now."
My heart was racing. I didn't try to argue. I handed him my wallet and my phone, keeping my hands visible and calm. I had about $40 cash on me, luckily not much more. He snatched them and stepped back, motioning for me to leave. I backed off the property slowly, got in my car, and drove straight to the gas station about a mile down the road. I asked the clerk if I could use the phone and called the police immediately. A couple of officers showed up within minutes. I gave them my full statement, described Ted, his house, and what had happened. To my surprise, the cops didn't waste time. They actually told me to follow them back to the house so they could confirm the location. I stayed in the car while they went to the door, and there he was, just standing outside like nothing happened. He didn't run, he didn't hide, he didn't even ditch the gun. The cops arrested him on spot, and I got my phone and wallet back, minus the $40. I remember thinking how stupid he must have been to think he'd get away with something like that, especially in broad daylight in his front yard. I never did find any glass clowns that day, but I walked away with something else. A reminder to always be aware of your surroundings, whether it's a garage sale, a Craigslist meetup, or anything involving strangers. Stay alert. Trust your gut. It might just save your life.